Hello. Welcome to another exciting edition of REUP. If you've just tuned in, we've been looking for you. We've been searching for you. And now we have found you. I can see in the distance the Deacon Seaworth. Also, the lady, Lasagna Witt, and my good friend, Mr. Dynamite. I don't know where you're listening to me from, but if you don't continue to listen to this program, I will look for you. I will find you, and I will smack you in the Holy Ghost.
Oh, Lord.
I will get you delivered. So unless you want hands laid on you and all those demons that you're holding inside of you to be driven out, you better listen to this segment of the Re-Up.
You got a special set of skills, sir?
Absolutely.
Get demons out, huh?
All I know.
Well, we definitely appreciate it. I'm assuming Liam Neeson. Taken.
Yeah, Liam Neeson, any movie.
Are you on a mission right now? Slapping people? No?
No, not right now.
Okay. Well, we definitely appreciate you coming to introduce us tonight. Yeah, I like your movies, man. I like you taking. We just talked about it when we was talking about what's that? Sounds of Freedom a couple of weeks ago. You know, you been talking about you bringing light to that trafficking stuff too going on in this world. So
I think it's very important to understand that there are a lot of forces at work, not only here in this country, but around the world. And young girls are being taken, no pun intended, but young girls are being snatched. Young girls are being abducted at an alarming rate. And we need to stop it. We need to be the force that is to be reckoned with. And that's what we're going to do in 2023 and 24.
All right. Well,
yes, sir.
We appreciate you. Definitely a step up from the guy that introduced us last week. I'll tell Lasagna about that later.
Well, if it's a step up, it's a step in the right direction.
All
Listen,
right.
I'm going to get out of here and get out of you guys' way. You have a great show. Enjoy your time, and we'll see you next time, Shelton. I'll be looking for you.
Liam Neeson, y'all. And welcome to another episode of the Re-Up. Well,
Re-up.
Where you meet Liam Neeson at, man?
Oh, man, I was almost in a movie with him, man.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah, almost, man. You know what I'm saying? But the paper wasn't right. They wasn't talking about, trying to pay me. They was trying to give me peanuts and give him, pistachios.
That's what them people on strike in Hollywood for now, ain't they?
That's all I'm saying, brother. You know what I'm saying?
So,
if I was gonna be their support, they paid what's his name, Toby, for that Transformers. They paid him handsomely. You heard me?
handsomely.
Yes. Toby got broke off, and he didn't say probably but 10 lines. He was like Mr. T in the movie. I was like, damn, Toby, they could have gave you more lines than that, brother.
Toby wasn't upset. Toby wasn't mad.
I heard that the A-list people, they all right. They've been getting paid, but the
other people
and the extras. Like I always wondered how much extras really got paid though, because it's a lot of extras.
If it's a real production, you can get broke off some decent money, but you trying to, a lot of times what it is you can't just walk on to like a real set and be on there
without having been on some of these little movies. And so on some of these little movies, you getting little money. Like you might get $100, you might get $50, $75. You know what I'm saying? Nothing really for your time, but at the same time, you would just on briefly as an extra. And so you build that up and build, them seeing your face and you on some of these clips, then you can get up to maybe the $1,000, $1,500 range per, your extra time.
Even if it's like, do you get residual? Like every time they saw the movie,
no, when you
get
get
like a penny or something?
what you do is you shoot your scenes when you're extra, and at the end, your last scene, you go to the finance area or office or whatever they got set up, and they, you write your name and they give you a check and you out of there. There ain't no whole lot of you ain't getting no more money. Don't be looking for nothing off the back end. Nothing.
Damn.
I don't care how they sell it at the box office, how they sell it on DVD. You got your money up front. Now get on.
Now get on. Man, that's why them people out there striking, man. I guess.
Yeah.
So we are all back together and super excited. I always love when the whole team is here. Last week it was me and Dion. We talked about the Alabama brawl.
The who?
Alabama.
Sound like you just got hit in the mouth.
Alabama
ball.
The Alabama brawl. We talked a little bit about that. Dion, had some some acting.
I know he did.
Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all, man, that's still good to me. Like I just that's a watershed moment in history. You know what I'm saying? Like that's gonna live in infamy from now until. You're gonna be able to bring that up 10, 15, maybe even 20 years from now, and people still gonna be like, yeah. I'm telling you, it's just gonna be one of those moments in time where we like it's always gonna be something to go, yeah. Yeah. Don't play with us. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, now I done seen a couple of videos where them people done actually brought some chairs out on some other people. I'm like,
Joe did.
Come on now. Yeah. Like, come on now. It's it is carrying on. But I know they're starting to hand out some indictments. The only black guy that I heard got indicted was the guy with the chair.
With the chair. He hit that lady. Yeah, that's the only one. They was like, yeah, dude. She wasn't right over there.
Son, you can't hit a white woman with a chair and expect not to go to jail. I don't know what you were thinking. You're going to spend some time down yonder in the county for hitting that white woman with a chair. Now, if you hit a white man, it's in the heat of battle, we understand. But there's no way in the absolute heck that we're going to let you get away with hitting a white woman with a chair. Oh, no, sir. You're going. You're going.
He crossed the line there. Actually, that's when they tried to stop it, when that happened. So I think they felt like that was a little over the mark. But hey, I know we put it out last week. What y'all think? Was it a little too much? Just a little bit?
What was too much?
Hitting the lady with the chair. She was already down. She was sitting there.
Yeah, I don't think you need to hit her with the chair. Yeah.
Nah, man. It's like, once everything starts, man, it just, emotions are running high, and he was probably just swinging that thing. You know what I'm saying? Anybody in eyesight that was light complected was going to get that chair. So.
Oh, okay. That's what it was.
Yeah. Man, I'm inclined to rock with you on that. I get that. But, like on the video, if y'all see the video, he was smacking this man with the chair, right? They was a couple of feet away, man. They was over there doing their own thing. And the other man went off. He had some time to think about it, man. He walked over there, like he took a good 10 steps before he smacked her.
Oh.
So I think he seemed a little bit intent on making sure she felt.
Yeah, he was enraged. He was enraged. See, with your calm and rational mind, you thinking, oh, he should have known better. But when you're enraged and incensed, as Dave Chappelle would say, he was incensed. Everybody can get it. It's available to everybody.
Yeah. So I know definitely go back and look at our conversation about that. talked a little bit about Neo and Jamie Foxx getting canceled. Sonya, that was pretty interesting. Neo getting canceled because of his feelings about his personal parenting, and Jamie Foxx getting canceled for what has been what some people were deeming as anti-Semitic. I think we really need to define what anti-Semitic is, and I think ultimately, Dion, when we talk about just in the last days that, people are easily offended. Like, people are looking for things to be offended by.
Oh, yeah.
The comment that Jamie Foxx made was, basically that they crucified Jesus. Definitely they'll crucify me. And that's a statement that I've heard a lot, that I've actually used a lot. And when I say they, I'm talking about mankind. Like,
mankind.
Not one time have I ever thought the Jewish culture or Jewish people or anything like that. So
we just were thinking people in general, like,
right.
Just in general, right?
Right, because if you know your Bible, like, I mean, it was more than Jewish people there. It was Gentiles, it was Romans, it was all of us. Like, we was all represented in the crowd. Talking to, we let, was it Barabbas go?
Barabbas. Joe did.
We let him go, and we put Jesus on the cross. That was all of us, So, and Jamie's Fox's point, or whenever someone says that, is usually to not be surprised when someone, sends you to a cross or talks about you or backstabs you or whatever. Like, if they could do it to Jesus, the best man that ever walked this earth, they surely could do it to you and me. So why are you surprised?
Don't play.
Right. So anti-Semitic, man, I think we're pushing it there. And then I know we talked a little bit about, towards the end, we talked a little bit about Dante Bowe in that interview with Andrew Tate and Candace Owens. Boy, I try not to talk about Candace Owens, but I know we're going to talk about her a little bit later on today. So this week, in our events, current events, some pretty crazy things have happened this week so far. Michigan Air Show this past weekend. Plane was actually, and I don't know if I have video of this, but I definitely have some stuff that I can play in the background for. So let me pull that up while I'm talking about it. Michigan Air Show. You guys been to air shows before? They got the planes.
I've been to one.
Flying and doing tricks and stuff like that. And with this one, there was a situation to where
this hour, a terrifying scene in the
there was a situation where the one of the planes had a issue. The pilots ejected out, and the plane actually crashed into an apartment complex that was nearby. So far, and then that's why I pulled this article up, is I haven't heard of anyone that has been unalived from it. So that's a good thing. But definitely, some people are going to be without homes and situations like that. So, first things first, definitely our prayers go out to, families and friends affected by that situation. That just has to be surprising. I know we had an air show the end of last year, and there was a mishap that happened right around the corner from here in that Redbird area in Texas, where people did pass. So just some crazy times, crazy situations, and so you never know what's happening or what not promised tomorrow. That's one thing I know it says to me. So we have to be mindful and careful of our choices and what we're doing with the time we have. Y'all heard anything about this yet?
Yeah, I hadn't looked at it, but briefly when you mentioned it earlier, but I hadn't saw the details. And like I said, I didn't hear about anybody died from it or anything, but I didn't get the details on it.
Yeah, that's good. But definitely as Christians, let's ensure that we
Definitely.
surround the community with prayers and love and any type of help we can offer there. Um, and I'll do some research and find out what links are supporting this particular effort and make sure that I put that in the description for us. Um, the other thing that happened this week that is really crazy, Maui, um, and there's a small town in Maui that I don't know if it's considered small or not,
Hmm.
um, where some fires have taken place, and a lot of people unfortunately have
Passed away.
passed away, and a lot of homes, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
a lot of damage there. So
Right.
um, again, first things first, our prayers and our hearts and our thoughts have to go out to the families and the people who have
Yeah.
lost things there. Um, but this is an ongoing situation. It's definitely something that is still, happening up to this very moment.
Yes.
Not the fire, but definitely the repercussions,
Yeah.
of it. So here's some
As long as
video.
you
I think I'll play kind of in the background of this as well. Um, but what are your thoughts, and what do you guys know about this situation?
I hadn't heard nothing about it, but anytime you get fires burning at a rapid pace, they they definitely can do more damage than is able to be controlled quickly.
Yeah. I
Because
think.
when it spreads, it's like it's covering more
Hmm.
ground than what a hose or workers or even
Yeah.
if they did that helicopter thing can actually cover. When it
Yeah,
gets going, and if it gets windy, then it can jump and
Yes.
burn up
Definitely.
a lot of areas too. So it's very dangerous and high temperatures or whatever. So if you ever hear of a fire, burning out of control near your house or wherever you're at, what I'm saying, get somewhere quick because it could be
Hmm.
on you before you know it.
yeah, and the thing with this, and I've heard a couple of different things, Dion. I heard that it was basically a perfect storm situation, right?
Hmm.
There was definitely, I think, a lot of America is going through like a heat wave portion of things. There was something with an electric company that kind of helped sparked the fire. The other thing that I heard attributed to it is certain things dealing with global warming, which is
Hmm.
now making this kind of like a political thing. So that's kind of what I want to talk a little bit about here. The fact that we have lives lost, and it seems that it's no. I mean, we're only talking a few days, and now it's becoming the stance of the right side and the left side, and we need resolution. We have people. I think the last count that I saw to date was like 99 people that have passed and that are unalive from this situation. And you can see from the video a lot of homes, a lot of land
Yes.
lost. And so, basically, the people who were saying that it was, climate related. I guess back when Hawaii was inhabited, a lot of businesses brought certain type of grass to feed cows. That's what they kind of wanted to use the land for. A lot of businesses, corporate businesses, that wanted to kind of get into Hawaii. Um, were using those type of things, but once they
Hmm.
went to a different type of economy, they left the grass there. So
Hmm.
when we're talking about these fires, that's exactly what it was. Basically, a bunch of dry grass that
Hmm.
really wasn't of use, really is not native to Hawaii, that, just started burning out of control. And
Wow.
so, again, I'll say for me, I do believe that there's climate issues. Having studied a lot with science, I definitely understand that. From the spiritual standpoint, though, I think it's leading us to a lot of times, like in Revelations, prophecy wise, it talks about, we're going to have storms in places that we don't normally have storms at. And there's going to be fires, and there's going to be, a lot of unexplained things that I know we try to explain with science. But, I think global warming is a real thing. And I do think that, we as men and women do things that affect,
Yeah.
how our world is moving and the climate and all of that. I really believe that. Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, a lot of those things we did because that's how, we wanted to survive. Coal and all of that is stuff that kept us in civilization for a while. But like with anything, when you find a new or a better way to get energy and stuff like that, I don't understand why that continues to be a point of contention. The other thing that I'm hearing that it's more on a political side. I saw some video where Donald Trump was on Truth Social and saying that Biden, said something about no comment or something. But then I'm looking at a lot of reports that show that as soon as this happened, Biden has already sent over, things to support in helping these people get back. So, again, it sounds like a situation this serious is just being used to draw points where this is the perfect time as a human race, and definitely as America, United States of America, that we should be coming together to try to, help people who are in need right now. So I'll back up for a second now that I've kind of given you guys that information. What are your thoughts about that in situations like this? Because unfortunately, it seems like every time something like this happens, that's the first thing it's turned into, some type of political or cultural, agenda to drive home a point.
It's true, and that's human nature. Mankind, if I got a point to make, just jump on the situation and turn it into that. And it's unfortunate for the people who lose stuff, and the attention and the focus is not on the survivors or the people trying to survive. We take the attention off what we need to focus on. We need to focus on getting them help, getting them to safety, making sure they land is okay, or seeing how we can salvage and help them. But unfortunately, as human beings, as I've watched the progression of our society, you take a point and immediately you got to make your point out of their point. You take the attention off of what's going on to make your point, no matter what your point is, whether it's political or you're like, oh, I can use this and get my voice out because it's the next big thing. So I have to attach my voice to it. And I think it's unfortunate for the people who it really affects. It's like, hey, can we focus on them at least for a little bit and then get your point out or whatever you want to do? But it's just, and it seems like it's more and more happening. I can't say I remember it many years back this bad, but I could not have just been plugged in or tuned in like I am now. So I'm not going to say it wasn't happening as much. I'm just going to say I wasn't as much aware of it as I am now with public events are going, and how it seems like everybody got a point to make, got to be political, got an agenda, got a cultural point. It's like it's just a fire. The fires broke out. The people having some issues. Let's get everybody safe. Let's make sure we can help them some kind of way, restore some type of normalcy to their life. Because some people look like they lost everything. Like just looking at some of them fires, it looked like it's like been demolished. Like your whole life is like done. And then you make my life a political issue. It's like, really? Can you wait till I get to a shelter? Can I get some help? Can we, see about the people first? So that's what I think about it.
And from, definitely, this is a show that highlights, Christian culture, and as it pertains to a lot of things that are happening. And so, earlier today, I saw a video from a young man. His name is Conscious Lee, I think, on TikTok. I would say, and I don't know if I've ever heard a video, but it sounds like his stance on things is a democratic, liberal stance. But very bright young man. Talks a lot about historical things, slavery, America, how we got to different things. So does a lot of research. He's one of those people that if someone makes a comment, he's able to kind of, break down what that comment is pretty quickly. So, which is probably one reason why he comes across my feed. I definitely respect a lot of what he says. But he was kind of touching on this topic from a standpoint of, he was saying that, missionaries were going over to missionaries and then people who proclaim to be Christians, even some business people have been going over or calling to talk about buying the land or, doing things. Again, to your point, Lasagna, where we're still in a situation where people are, some of them still don't know if their loved ones are alive or gone. We know 99 people aren't with us anymore. We know that homes have been lost. But, his point was, and this is what I really want to get to, was that as Christians, we proclaim Jesus. We try to, he used the words, kind of push Jesus on people. But the principles that we're showing are counterproductive. We say Jesus is a good thing, but as Christians, and again, I keep in mind he's a very historic person, so he brings up things that happen, with slavery. He brings up things that happened with the Jewish people and other in Egypt. And so he talks about how we use the Bible to justify these things. And my response to him and other people like him that believe that, I admit, I think there's a confusion between the Jesus that's in our Bible and the Jesus that we as Christians represent all the time. I admit that. I really invite him and other people to really, read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the New Testament, and just watch the description of how Jesus moved and operated. And you'd see that all of these different things have happened in history. This stuff in Maui is not how Jesus would have moved. Even dealing with, people in the letter community. Dealing with, there's a lot of things that we as Christians do today, that we respond to things in a certain way, that if you look at the life of Jesus, that's not how he responded, to those same situations. And he was a lot more effective. And it's so funny as Christians, and don't get me wrong, this is the most important part. Yes, we focus on the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, but I think God purposely had him walk on this earth for 30 years. Because again, he's God in body, if you believe that. So he could have came as a grown man. You know what I mean? He took Esau and we didn't even see him die, right? So he didn't have to go through the process of it, right? I mean, if God wanted to do that and just drop him as a grown man, he could have did that. That's miracle, right? But he had him come from baby to over 30, and we got to see his life. We got to see him interact with people, with sinners, and with people who weren't right. And I think that was for our benefit.
Definitely.
As Christians and believers, to kind of figure out how to walk and how we're supposed to maneuver, in these situations. So I'm gonna back up for a second. Hearing that, you guys, that's one of the takes that I'm hearing. But I think it's a good opportunity for us to kind of speak to the differences between how some Christians represent him, especially ones in public, the Candace Owens. You know, I hate to say people who support Donald Trump. I'm trying to think of some people on the liberal side that just misrepresent who God really is, his character, and it confuses young people, maybe even old people like this young man that that see Jesus as something that he's not.
It's true. I think it's a lot. I think it's the reason why a lot of young people shy away from the Christianity faith, because as I've heard statistically, Christianity is not the number one religion in America anymore. It's like it's not number one, and I think the power gets lost in translation. This is what I mean, from generation to generation. Like my parents had the survival Jesus. You know, you got to pay them bills, get that rent, blah, 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 blah. It was moving fast, just trying to make a living, just trying to get a job. You know, they 70, you know, just trying to keep their head above water. Is anybody going to hire them? We got these kids, got to feed them. And then their God, you know, when we grew up, it was like, okay, God was important, but he was a survivalist God. So they didn't see him like an everyday. It's like he's important for emergency. You call him 911. And somewhere in translation, it's not getting translated well because they survived. And you got this new generation. They don't have to survive. They get the job. They get the $70,000 job. They go get the interview. They got the company. So it doesn't translate well the power that God is and who he is and how he can do all things. They're not growing up with the miracles. They're not seeing his power. They're not seeing your life changing because the manifested presence of God live on the inside of you. They don't see any difference between you and somebody else that don't profess Jesus. And I think in translation, generation to generation, it's got like lost some kind of way. And I don't think they meant for us to lose it, but just surviving is a whole nother mentality. That I don't have to survive. These young people, I got a job. I'm making $80,000. I buy a house wherever I want. I buy a BMW, you know. So they don't have the same connection, a lot of them.
Right.
We had. And sometimes it makes it difficult to see, well, I don't need him to survive. So what do I need him for? Is what I'm saying. Because, you know, he fits all situations. But sometimes in your life, like a young lady, I asked her, like what she said, like 20 something. She said, I believe God is real, but I don't know how he fits into my life. I believe that there's a God, there's Jesus, but I don't know how he fits into my life. And when I thought about it, it was really profound. It's like, she's being honest. I believe there's a God. I believe, you know, that there is a real God, but I'm not sure how he works for me or how I need to relate to him. So to your point, Shelton, and when you get all this dilution and then you have people, you know, way off, you know, not representing Christ, not letting him be who he is, you know, making him something that he's not, then people are like, oh, no, I don't want to be bothered with that. But if in his authenticity, to know Christ is to love him. To know Christ is to want to get to know him. To know Christ, because good days or bad days, he's my friend. Good times, bad times, he's somebody I lean to. I lean into to get wisdom. What's going on at this point in my life? I need wisdom. Good days. I need wisdom. Bad days. I always need him. But from a younger standpoint, they're not sure how or why they need him. For their generation, having everything at their fingertips, you know, a microwave generation, as we say, you know, so I get the job when I get out of school. I get this, I get that. We had to struggle more. And because the struggle is not as difficult as it was for them, they don't have the same translation of the same God we have. So we have to do a better job in representing Christ. And I think that's all it is, just demonstrating his power and who he is. If we saw some eyes getting open, some legs going back, and you'd be like, you know, just changing people that have been, you cussing folks out. Oh, I remember them. And now you're talking grace and peace to people. If he could really get into most of our lives and really change us to get us to be obedient, to do what he's telling us to do, I think it would translate different than how it's been translated over time. That's what I'll say about it.
Yeah. So, you know, when a couple things that I hear in that, right? One, and this is something that I think we can take away, you know, just from our day-to-day lives. People pray more when when life is not where they want it to be
I agree.
in human nature.
Yeah.
And it probably shouldn't be that way,
Mm-hmm.
but that's when, when you got a problem, it's what Dion say sometimes, oh God.
Yes,
Oh God.
sir. Yes,
You
oh
call
God.
you calling his name, a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked in recent episodes about really seeking a constant and consistent conversation with them. But to your point, in the times that we live in, we have a lot of people who have a little bit more wealth.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that there's there's disparagement there, and there's some things to continue to work on. But again, not the same exact situation as like our great grandparents
Right.
and things that they're going through. So, but the other thing here is in this misrepresentation, like what I want our listeners to understand is, unfortunately, the way God is being described in some of these cases is through people's personal agendas.
Yes, definitely.
What I mean by that, if your proclivity in your personal political party is liberal or conservative, then you have the tendency of looking at God's word and the Bible and focusing on those things through that vision, which is your personal vision, of what's happening there. That's why I really prescribe to people, read the Bible for yourself. Like, there's no way in the world you can read how Jesus walked this earth and think that he's like like what this young man was describing on his video, because he's not like that. He was compassionate. He was, again, like the woman at the well. Like he did tell her that she had a couple of husbands or everything, but not from a judging standpoint. It was really so he could let her know who he was.
That's right.
It was like a miracle because she wanted to know, who are you?
Yeah.
Like,
wait a minute. Who is you?
Right. So he had to let her know some of his God tendencies.
Yes.
Like, I know all about you, but it didn't come off as a judging way. You know what I mean? And, as Christians, we know a little bit about you. We want to, hey, you doing X, Y, and Z. That's wrong.
Yeah.
You going to hell. You doing da. We got this. Here is God. The only person that ever walked this earth that can claim that they were good.
Damn.
They ain't do nothing wrong.
Definitely.
And this is how he responds to someone that is, struggling with something or dealing with something. And you look at how we respond. It's definitely a difference there, And one of the things I know that's been on my heart recently, personally, is, it's one thing to know God, know of him, but as Christians, I think it's important for us to really focus on getting his character.
Yeah.
His character is love and humility and grace, and there's a character thing that goes along with the truth that we want to share to people. If you don't have his character and you're trying to sell truth, again, I think that opens the door for your own personal agendas, your own personal proclivities. And it confuses people. And the main thing I care about, like, I want to see that young man meet Jesus. And if Christianity and the way Christianity has been presented to him is hindering that, then that's my problem. That's when I have, a concern or a heart for it, because we shouldn't be getting in the way of someone meeting Jesus. We should be ushering that. We should be really, bringing that through. And, what does it take to really change this dynamic? Because to your point, Lasagna, Christianity is dying down. And a lot of people, again, politically would say, oh, well, they took, prayer out the church, or prayer out the schools. I think that is part of it, but that ain't the only part of it. I think how we represent God, how we've been representing God for years, way back. If you want to go to the start of America, I heard Candace Owen has this thing out right now where she's trying to, say, I don't know what she's trying to do, but she's explaining slavery and American slavery wasn't the first slavery and da da da, and it was really started by, black people in Egypt, and the white man was the first one to end it. Man, when I tell you, when I hear that, it made my blood boil or whatever, because it don't matter if it was in Egypt, it don't matter if it was in Germany, wherever, it was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it was even more wrong for someone to take the Bible and try to use it and justify it. And here we have a Christian black woman trying to justify American slavery. That is very confusing and an obstacle to me as a believer sharing the God I know and love, who is not that, who would never say that, oh, slavery was a good thing. That, black people learned some trades that they could, take on with them or anything. I can't ascribe to that, and that bothers me when I see, us do that in our faith. So I'm gonna back up for a second.
So,
Dion, you've been quiet.
yeah, I don't want to overstep, nobody, you know what I'm saying? But, certainly, when tragedies like this happen, uh, typically you see two kind of groups step up. Um, One, the people that want to politicize it and stretch it. I always liken it to trying to stretch a twin size fitted sheet over a king size bed. You know, you trying to make their situation fit your political agenda. Your agenda is big. This is specifically to them, so it's twin size. It's just this. And so when you do that, it's not going to work out, and it's not, it's going to cover some, but it's not going to cover enough for it to work out. But um, they're going to come, and then you got the opportunists, like the people trying to buy the homes and the land, and get the people and do the whole gentrification thing, and put them in a position where once they do get some money, if they had insurance or something like that, they're not going to even be able to afford to live where they were living before, and so
Mhm.
um, both are taking advantage of people, in their own way, and both are putting it under the guise that they're trying to help and trying to be there and support and all that, but neither of them are looking out for the actual people. They're both just looking out for themselves and their own agendas, and that's where that these situations teach me is that these people are waiting in the wings, for something to jump off so they can, jump in there and get people, put in the situation. And it's much like, these politicians and other people who, step in and say, well, we need more God, we need more this, but at the same time, the things that you're doing are not putting more God into the situation. So it's just, it's easy to see through if you look at it, is what I would say.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the question would be how do we, what's a couple of things that come to mind that will help change this narrative and help change how people see
We need to be
God?
more together, and that's what that situation with the fires and even the Alabama situation is, that when we come together and stand together on a more permanent and consistent basis, the power that we're going to possess, the thought process, the just the mobility that we'll be able to do is going to be so great that it's going to baffle people, and that's what everyone has been afraid of for so long, is this us, not only as Christians but specifically us as darker hued people, you know what I'm saying, melanated people, need to start thinking about, so that we can move in a forward direction and we can have things is being in unison, with everything that we do. because so much division is being sold by, by our social class, our financial class, everything like that, that we can't get anything done. Who's going to listen to people going in 20 different directions? And that's where we are in the church. What I'm saying, we're going in 20 different directions. We got the conservative Christians, the liberal Christians. Why we have to put these titles before Christian? We're all the same, so we all should be moving the same way. We are the body, not the bodies. We're the bodies, and we need to be fitly joined, and that's where we're missing in that. And that's why we're losing so much traction in the world, and so many of these other entities are gaining ground, is because they're in unison in what they're trying to do. In terms of pulling and tugging at us, and pulling us apart, and putting us down or whatever. But we're not. We're trying to. Some of us are just trying to lay low and let things pass, but some of us are trying to charge into the face of things, and neither one of us are really making any headway.
All right. So we got unity. Um, I'm gonna throw in transparency. Um, and I think a characteristic of being more unified is people being more transparent, and I'd say transparent and empathetic, right? As you mentioned, people of darker hue, but in order for us to move forward, all Christians got to come together, no matter what hue we are. We have to be able to understand. I've had conversations with people that are white, and a matter of fact, I was talking to someone about this Candace Owen situation, and how she was feeling about slavery, and I could tell that and she's very. I mean, I talk about Candace Owen, and I think what irritates me the most is I think she's very intelligent. I think she's a bright woman. I think she's very articulate. I just hate that she uses her platform in a way that I know in her mind she's trying to challenge and help the black community, but it really it perpetuates a stereotype about the black community. Like we all think a certain way, and we all do this. Like we're thugs. You know what I mean? Like and for someone of our own color to represent and say this about us kind of gives license to other people to continue to feel that way about us, and that's bad. And then you throw Christian on top of it, right? You say, "Oh, I'm a Christian, and these are Christian standards," and yada yada yada. But your character and how you misrepresent your own people says something different, right? And it comes across confusing to people who don't know God, who don't have a relationship with Him yet, and um, unfortunately, I feel like stuff like that makes them not even want to be with Him. But one of the things that I see that can help out with this is just being more transparent. I wish she and other people would just say, "Hey, because I'm a conservative politician, this is what I believe." Stop putting that on God.
Hmm.
What's that?
I think that's who was that? That's you, Dion? Is that
Yeah, I
me?
think so. Hold on. Okay, I'm getting a feedback there.
Yeah, me too.
Echo.
Dion, you okay?
I'm
Okay.
trying to figure it out. It was sounding crazy. It was sounding real, like AI was taking over.
I
Yeah,
thought
it was.
somebody took over. I thought I was gonna have to rebuke some. I was getting ready too. I'll be
Hey,
ready.
stop us, how y'all?
I don't get ready. I'll be ready.
But just like that episode where I told you it was gonna get political, and I had the hat and stuff like that. I think we owe it to people to tell people, and maybe we need to self reflect and even know, like, I'm saying this because this is something that I'm passionate about. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff we put on God in a way and say, "Oh, this is what God wants," and it could be partially true. It could be, but we flip it in a way that where it benefits us, and it's just to drive home a point, as opposed to introducing people to a solution. So I think being more transparent about what's us and what we really believe and not tying that into, people say, well, God told me. I think about it. I'm like, man, when God talked to me, he talked to me a lot about myself, first. And even the stuff that I share with people is usually stuff that God has talked to me about and led me through a process of. So now I can give you a testimony and tell you, how he's bringing me through it. But it's not from a standpoint of God told me to tell you guys all the time. It's a lot of people who want to be prophets, like Old Testament prophets, want that title. And, I think we got to really check ourselves and understand, is it God talking or is it my mind, and how I feel about life, skewing how God is talking about it. Like,
The way I separate it is, if somebody's giving me a word that they say is for me, typically I don't count that as God, because if somebody's giving me a word, it's because it affected their life and they're telling me what happened to them and kind of warning me about that same thing being able to happen to me as far as that. So that's a real word from God, because the giver of the word has been affected by this, and me as the receiver, I'm also affected by it. So God is helping both of us at the same time. You with me? So if
yeah.
God is always giving you a word for me and never for you, I don't want to hear it. You can go on and keep that locked up. You know what I'm talking about? Go on and do something with that word, because that's a bunch of hockey.
But there's a couple of YouTubers, Christian influencers that, they always got a word for the church. Always.
But
I
they're YouTube
remember.
influencers. That's where it starts.
But to your point, like if that's true, and I believe that's true, like that word was for you first. You know what I mean? So, I think there's a time where as Christians, like as a believer, we really have to process, what is God showing me? And I learned this a lot in marriage. You know what I mean? I remember praying about my wife, like, ooh, she getting on my nerves, Lord. And she said X, Y, and Z. And then when I'm praying about it, he shows me a mirror of me. Well, what did you say? How did you say it? You know what I mean? So it gets you to a point where you're self-reflecting and you're taking accountability for your piece of whatever's happening at this point. And there's not a lot of accountability going on in this world right now, like self-accountability, like self-humility. Like a lot of us feel like we've arrived. And again, that's complete contradiction to what my Bible really says. Like it says that, we're going to be a work unto perfection until we meet the Lord. You know what I mean? So, if you coming across like you know it all and this person don't, or this person, I don't see how we feel like we're going to reach a generation or reach a people with that type of attitude and that type of character. So I think, some self-humility, the way you described it, Dion, is perfect. Like I don't share anything with anybody unless, one, God has prompted me to do it. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10, it's something that I've personally experienced. Because now, not only am I giving you the truth of what the Bible says about it, but I got a testimony that you can relate to go along with it. So, I'm not really, I'm not capping. I'm giving you the real. This is what God took me through. He can take you through it too. You know what I mean? So that's more effective than me saying, "Hey, God told me you was wrong. I don't know why you're wrong. I don't know why. All I know is you're wrong." Like it don't take a rocket scientist to see, someone may be caught in sin or caught up with something like that. That's not a miracle. That's not a prophet. That's a Sanya Senior.
Yeah. No, I had a couple thoughts. There's a spirit to God. And even if he's correcting you, disciplining you, word of encouragement, because there's all kind of words, exhorting, he could encourage you or discipline, whatever it is, he still have a spirit. It's a way that he comes across. The Spirit of God is what I'm saying, not the spirit of the person that's talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And whether they've been through it or not, there is a spirit that they come with where you can feel. But I'll give an example instead of roundabout. I was in the mall one day having a really, really hard time. It was a few years ago. Young white lady, never met her in my life. She could have been 20s, maybe 30. She sat down, she came up to me. She said, I think God wants to tell you something. And when she started talking, it took everything in me to keep the tears back. She read me to the letter in the details of my life. And she never met me. I know she didn't know me. And I know God told her that because I was sitting there, just sitting right outside of maybe Macy's or one of the malls. And it was I was just sitting there and I wasn't talking to nobody, but it was an internal struggle. And it was a real difficult time. And she just came up, and what she said was in the detail. It took everything in me not to break down. And I said, I appreciate what you said. And it is true. And she was just as calm and went on about her business. And she was just came up to him. She said, I don't mean about, but I think God wants to tell you something. And then when she started talking, she read me to the letter. And I'm sure there ain't nothing she'd been through because it was for me. It was my life. So what I'm saying is there's a spirit to God.
Mm-hmm.
He have a way that he expresses himself. She hit me to the core. I mean, I think about it today, and it was probably 10 years ago. But even those words ring out to me 10 years later. And it's like, now go back to what, that word that she says, like, yep, because sometimes you fall back into a pit or you have the same internal struggle try to come up. It's like, nope, I'm not going back there because already, God heard about that. He saw me, he fixed it. So don't get that back. And I will say another point, it's hard to fix people that don't think they sick.
Mm-hmm.
So if you well, and people who know everything have a lot to learn, because if you already know it, you already got an answer, you already predisposed to know everything, there's no way anybody's going to get anything new to you. And except you come to God humble, I am mere human. And compared to your wisdom, I absolutely know nothing. And Paul was one of the wisest men in the Bible. He said, he could speak, how many languages? Was it 10, 7? How many languages? Whatever, it was a lot. He could speak a lot of languages. He knew a lot of theology. He had a lot. He said, I counted all as dumb. Why did he say that? Compared to the Most High God, on your best day, you ain't got nothing for God on his worst. You don't have enough knowledge for 1% of anything that God knows, even if you know a lot in the earth. Like, you have to come to him like an empty vessel. Like, God, I need you. And until you see you need God, and until you empty yourself out, there's no way he's going to fill up a full vessel. You already full of you. There's no room for me.
Mm-hmm.
What do I have to say or do? You already got the answer. And anything you don't reveal, God not going to heal. Anything you don't bring to him, he patient. He will sit on the sideline and let you do you. He really will, until you open up and be like, okay. And that's what I think is the most difficult part of life, is all of us see God through our experiences, no matter who we are, how you were raised, how you were brought up, who taught you the Bible, or even the stuff that you got from God. We all have a way that we view God because of how he's been to us. That's just how you know him, through your experience. Whatever you had, Dion, whatever I had, whatever you had, Dion and Shelton, we know God through our experiences. And some people reject God because of their experiences. So it's just difficult to get people to embrace something that they haven't experienced. And I think that's the most difficult part of our society now.
Yeah, and what I would say also, Sonia, because that's a great point, right? I had a similar experience in my life, when it comes to that. But I think also that as Christians, it's our job to kind of set the atmosphere for people to want to say, you know what, I'm messed up, or I need something, because what I'm inclined to say, like, it's a little bit of both. Like, there are people out there right now that just don't think there's nothing wrong with what they're doing or how they live life, and they're not ready to come across that. But I would say that most people know that something doesn't feel right in their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because, yes, Christianity has died down, but people are all looking for other avenues. You know, they're looking for Buddhism. They're looking for being Muslims. They're looking for, Hebrew Israelites. They're looking for burning sage, and they're looking for answers to fill these voids that they have in their life. So they're looking for that. My concern and my biggest thing is, as Christians, do we set an atmosphere where, like Jesus, sinners would come to him, they would seek him, they would want to be in his presence because of his character and hear what he has to say. The way we represent God in the church today and throughout history for the most part, do we really set a thing where we're inviting people, that to say, hey, you know what? I know the answer. Like, here's the living water. Here's that thing that can fill that gap with all these different things that you're looking for. Or do some of us, again, because of what we want to, prove or happen, from our own, traumas in life or whatever has shaped our mindset, are misrepresenting and not setting an atmosphere. Some of those people. There are a group of people out there that are just, undecided. Like, the enemy doesn't have them all completely, but as of here, we're portraying God, they're walking away from him as opposed to coming to him. And that's kind of, my concern with that, because I completely agree with you. Like, you have the hard heart that's not, ready to accept and not willing to say I'm there. I mean, heck, I'm going to end this show. I was talking about Donald Trump. Like, this man says, I don't ask God for forgiveness because I'm just going to do right the next time. Like, again, this is the mentality that we're talking about from a person who's a leader. Like, and I'm not quoting it exactly, but that's exactly, that's what this man, basically said when someone asked him publicly, as he, that's forgiveness for the things that he's done. And his answer was no, like, because I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to be better. And I get where he's trying to go with that, but as a Christian, we understand the foundation of our faith is coming to God and saying we're not worthy. Like, we can't do this on our own. We can't do this without you. Like, we're no good. Our righteousness is filthy rags compared to to you. You know what I mean? So, I just want us to get to the point where we're not the ones confusing the issue. Like, I'll be quick to tell somebody, like, that's me. Like, I'm jacked up. Like, I still got some work. You catch me on the wrong day, you say the wrong thing, you do the right. Like, again, and I'm not gonna say God made me do it. We got serial killers that are famous that blame their serial killing on, well, God told me. Really? And you want? I mean, honestly, and I know that's an extreme, but that's how much people will take and try to throw God on a mess, instead of, using God as the foundation, his character, his truth as the foundation of why and how we make our decisions, even if it goes against what your political belief, your cultural belief, your personal belief, even if it goes against, matter of fact, it's going to go against it. Most of the time, it's going to go against what you normally would want to do, until your mind is transformed and renewed, more with God. The closer you get to God, the more you think a little bit different. The more your character will be different,
It is.
But, and I just mentioned, I was going to talk a little bit about Trump. Can't leave the show without, bringing up that, a fourth indictment, this time a criminal charge has been brought up against Trump and 18 other people. RICO charges, Dion. RICO.
Ooh, charges.
Racketeering. But this one, Dion, is a little different from the other ones. All the other ones were federal cases. This is a state case, and it comes with a warrant, like a
A
warrant.
warrant.
You know how when you ride on the street and you got warrants.
Yeah,
It has
nah,
one of
it ain't the
those.
same. Cause me and you ain't riding in the motorcade. We riding in our car. When we get stopped, we already know what the play is. We getting in the back of their car and they towing our car. Can you see them towing Trump's SUVs, putting them in the pound? Come
Hey,
on now.
what is it? What if his driver run a stop sign?
That ain't finna happen, man. They ain't finna run up on him. It ain't happening. He's gonna do another walkthrough like he did last time, and he gonna go back to the crib. Like that's what they do.
And he might. I mean, so from what I understand, the DA in Fulton County, Georgia, is giving him and his co-conspirators. This is so weird, even talking about this from a former president, RICO charges to the 25th to turn themselves in. Now, the way she expressed it, if they don't turn themselves in on the 25th, they gonna have to come for him, man. They gonna have to look for him. There's some warrants out there.
I hope that's
What
not.
you think that's gonna be like?
I hope he don't turn himself in. Like that he's somewhere like in the south of France, somewhere where he's not even in the country, and then just comes back on the 26th and see what happens. They're not gonna pull up on him. They're not gonna do that.
Man,
They're not.
What would it look like if they did, though?
Man, crazy.
We're all good people here. We all got good things going for us. Let's not turn this into a situation you're going to be sorry for. Get away from the motorcade. Move
Is
back.
he gonna resist arrest?
Oh yeah.
Is he gonna try to run?
He ain't gonna run. You don't want that hairpiece flying in the air. It's flapping.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Y'all cannot
This
do
right
it.
here ain't finna happen. He might slap somebody though. I will give him that. He do got the gumption to probably slap one of them officers who try to grab him.
Mm.
But yeah, ain't no running gonna be going on. None of this is happening. That shark fin ain't coming up.
Boy, what you think, Sonny?
His wig come off. It's a wrap.
I think we need some help in these countries with all of this drama going on. I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. Looking at Russia with Ukraine and then China. Then they say they sent some warheads over in private to us, but they said it wasn't threatening. But why you got warheads coming over here? I think we got a lot of drama going on, and I think we got there's leadership all over the world. We need some shifting, some changes of the guard is what they say. We need something to change. I'm talking about America, both parties, Democrat, Republican, trying to take your kids. And then you got people running for office and doing criminal activity. It's rough. I'm going to tell you the truth. We need help from heaven. If we never needed God, the God of heaven, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we need him today. I am so serious.
I know that it's a strong possibility.
We need him.
That if let's just say Trump gets, because from what I'm hearing, his supporters still will vote him in, even if he was in jail. So,
I'm gonna get a president from behind bars running the country.
Could you imagine that?
There couldn't be no black president running the country from in jail.
This is America, though. You can't, and I heard someone say this before, and this is so true. You can have a felony on your record and you can't vote, but you can have no.
Oh, okay.
But you can have be a felon and be the president. Make that make sense.
Now let me ask you: do all felons they can't vote like ever? Like if you ever had a felony, like how does that work? Is that
I think it's
a period of time.
Classes of felony.
Okay, that's what it is. Because I was wondering about that. It's classes of felony. Okay.
Yeah, if you have a felony,
I got you.
Let me put it this way: if you got a RICO charge, you can't vote.
I got you.
But if you have a RICO charge, you can go for president. That's
rough in the hood. That's rough. So I can't go for myself though.
You can be a lot of things with the RICO on your back.
Yeah.
You can be a business owner. You can be, president. You can be CEO. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Now
you
I can
can't be a
understand
voter.
they can't stop you from running your own company. Like if you start a company, whether you got to, you probably got to start your own company if you got
Yeah. You can't work for nobody because
and
they
you
won't
probably
let
got
you.
to
You ain't
start
gonna
your own.
pass the background.
I get that. I get that. So you got to start your own stuff.
But president of the strongest, the
Wow.
biggest
Now,
country
did he
in
have
the
a
world.
felony on him? He didn't have a felony before all this came up.
That's
Before he
it.
got
And he ain't gonna have one.
okay. That's what. That's what.
You don't think none of these cases gonna stick? It's like 400 charges.
How?
Not one of them gonna stick.
They ain't even been able to get him behind bars yet. How they gonna? You know us. We be in jail until the trial. Like they hose us.
He different. He was the president.
Mm-mm. He's supposed to be sitting there awaiting trial like everybody else. That's the process of law. The due
Not
process.
evidently not. We ain't had
Right.
this. We ain't had the strong lawyers to keep us out and push the court dates back until so we can
The
become
arm of the law that
president.
ain't strong.
Huh?
The arm of the
But
law that ain't strong.
is the arm of the law ain't strong? I
Yeah.
think that. I mean, as much as it's been made to be a political thing, I think the law branch is doing the best it can to try to make it not a political thing. Like they're giving him a lot of grace. To your point, Dion, a lot of things that, like, again, even the fact that she's saying he got into the 25th to turn himself in. Like, to your point, when a warrant is issued, like, it's issued. Like, you gonna come in here tomorrow because if we find you out on the streets,
Fire.
you going to jail.
Fire.
Right. So, I think there's a lot of grace being given because he's a president to try to, not make it a political thing, but it keeps becoming a political thing. And, again, the only reason why I even talk about it, because if you support Trump, more power to you. If you don't, it really doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is when we tie it to Christianity, because if his behavior and his character don't represent it, and you keep trying to stick God on him, then that's when I got a problem. Like when you tell me he represent what my God represents, and this man in court for, I mean, I know a lot. I don't grew up with a lot of criminals. I don't know. He got more cases than anybody that I've ever met. You could actually almost
He
put
gonna
him
he
on.
gonna he gonna show talking about he got more issues than Time Magazine.
Yeah.
I see you over there.
Yeah.
Got a lot going on, but we
I see you.
continue to try to, the moral of this show is we continue to try to put God on things that it don't got nothing to do with God. Just say you support Trump, you like him, you like how he do things and whatever, but stop putting God on it.
I will tell you this though, Dion and Sheldon. When you look at, if you walk through the Bible, just a few of the stories, they leader represent the times of the people, the decadence of the people. The leader that's in front, it represents a certain type of people. And I do believe that leadership lets you know how far away or how close you have come to God or how far away you drifted from God.
Mm.
And if you can see on both of our parties with the laws that we're making, you can see it's a great gulf, a great divide on what God stands for and what we are legalizing. I
Yeah.
think the gulf is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And so every leader is representing the mentality of the culture. I will say that. And
Yeah.
so we getting cultural moves in office instead of trying to see about people. And the more you get away from God, the more the laws will be more decadent, because I heard September 15th, they're trying to get a law where you can go with little kids, or I'm not sure how they titled the law, but why is that even something on the books that they have to push in our highest courts? Like they literally, some
What you
law
mean
that,
go with little kids?
like, you be an
Date?
adult and you say you can date a little kid, a 5, 6, 7-year-old little kid. They literally trying to vote on something, because my sister brought it to my attention and we were talking about it with some other people. This is my point for bringing it up. Why is that even a law being considered in our highest courts with all the stuff that the Bible is, or just being decent to people? You have to protect children. There's a reason the consent age was 16. it's that's how far away from God we getting. It's getting decadent. I mean, it is literally, it's getting out of control. So something's gonna give when you pushing and pushing and pushing agendas against. They're trying to squeeze God's voice out, but He is going to show up. Like you trying to push him, but sometimes He got to stick out His chest and be like, "I'm still God. I run this." And unfortunately, I think they're forcing His hand. Like something gonna pop. I don't know when, where, but something gonna give with all of these laws being made against God and against people. Because if you watch about it, you got to protect the children, you got to protect the elderly, you got to protect the poor. And who do we decimate first? Elderly, poor, and kids. So I feel like something is on the horizon. The gulf is getting too big. You're getting so far away, and you normalizing being away from God. And that's the issue. You normalize that. Because I don't understand why that's even in consideration, where you passing through all of these Senates and houses at the highest court. You have to really vote on something on September 15th to know that adults don't need to go with children. And that's an agenda. It doesn't have nothing to do with it. It's an agenda you're pushing to make it. I don't want no consequences for abusing children. I don't want no consequences. Why is that even a thought? Like, honest to God, in the decency of human mankind, to not protect children.
Yeah,
rich pedophiles.
Yeah, I'm saying, but what I'm saying is the leaders represent how close or how far you are from God. That's what I will say. They will let you know, this is where you at. This is why you voting for him. This is why you vote. Look where you are. Look how far away from God you are. They represent the society. I'll say that. They represent the cultural society and what we value and who we voting for or what we think. Like, honestly. And the truth is, both sides got a real problem. And it's hard to vote because it's like you're trying to vote for the lesser of two evils. Like, seriously, like all my life, that's how I've always felt. Okay, now I don't agree with most of their stuff, but I agree with most of their stuff. Who can I get in that may do something decent where we can live in peace? It's difficult. It's very, very difficult with the way it's going to see how far away from God we have drifted and how we can't even get common decency to know that you got to protect children.
Yeah, Sonia. This is the first time I'm hearing this. So if you could do me a favor, because we can lead story that next week. I tried to Google it. I couldn't find anything on it, but just let me know what the article is, because that's a big surprise to me. However, to your point, and I love your point, leadership definitely is a sign of where you're going. And I remember, I've been through a couple of votes in my life, and I've always thought like I'm voting the lesser of two evils, right? I always feel like
it's that bad. It's terrible.
I'm just trying to figure out who not the worst,
I'm so serious. And why do we all think like that? Like, there's a reason we think like, it's like our compass is so far away. It's like, man, you're just trying to figure out who can do something decent. It's like, oh my God, can we get people with common sense? Just a little bit of common sense, even if they wasn't that godly, just common sense. Not make laws to destroy people, to hurt people,
But I think we think like that. But people who are Biden supporters and people who are Trump supporters, they're like really Trump support. Like that person, like I don't know if you ever heard interviews with the people, but there's nothing that anything they could do wrong for them person not to. So, to your point, I think that's an issue too. Like even if I voted for you and I don't agree with what you got going on, I'm gonna tell you that. Like I like that he's doing this and this and this and this. I don't like this. Like the whole, marriage and LGBTQ and I gotta call you this and I'm not down with that. Like that's not me. So regardless if I voted for you or not, I feel like, just like you just articulated, like I should be able to still say I don't agree with this, or I don't agree with that. And just to bring this all back to us as Christians, like, and Dion said this before, like if we're putting anything before Christian, that's a problem. Like who we are as Christian, as kingdom people, that should be our foundation. That should be how we make our decisions. Whether somebody from the right is in office or whether somebody's in the left in the office, if we all came together, unified, and said, "Hey, we don't like this, and we want, we want this or we want that," that'll be different than us fighting across the aisles saying, "Well, oh, my person goes for this and my person goes for this." Like, that doesn't fix the problem, because until they all work together and pass the laws that we need them to pass or whatever, or more importantly, we've said this on the show, a lot of stuff that we expect the government is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be out there helping people and as Christians and the church doing, some of the things that we try to, put laws on. Abortion goes away when we have less single mothers and single parents and people having premarital sex. And that goes away when we introduce more people to Christ and we share our own testimonies of, how that can lead you down a bad path or what the circumstances or situation can be, But yeah, so do me a favor, find that article, because I definitely want us to talk through that.
Because it's even a term. I can't even think of the term because my sister was telling me the term they call it, but every time I hear it, it just sends a singe over me. And she's okay, so I ain't gonna say it no more. But I'm gonna get it to you though. I'm gonna look it up. And because she had the information on it, she was just talking to her clients about it, and they were like, "Oh my God!" And they had already knew about it. They was like, "Oh no, that's been on the table. They just now getting ready to vote on, but it's been a article of discussion." Where the other lady was saying, "Oh no, this is not nothing new. They just probably getting ready to vote on it, but it's not anything new. This been on the table." And I was like, "Oh man, we getting decadent. We getting out of control."
Oh, we're going backwards. We're going back to the Little House on the Prairie days.
Man.
Back there, we ain't had no, you was 14, 15. I mean, shoot, that was probably all the way up to the 60s. Like when people would say if you was 17, 18 and you weren't married, you was an old maid.
Okay.
That was, for real.
True.
Like, my mom told me about stories like that. Like, if you weren't married or in a relationship, getting ready to be married at 18, you was an old maid. Like, what? So, the mentality has been changing, and it's just, yes, decadent is the word. Our leadership is definitely far away. But I'll leave you with this, Lasagna. I think it's happening a lot because the church really isn't in its right place.
Yeah.
We're not standing in the gap, and we are so divided. We're so disunified on ourselves by politics and everything else, denominations, that a lot of this stuff is going by the wayside. So, something to think about.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that's our show for today. Y'all make sure y'all comment. Like, we want to hear from you. What y'all think? Like, decadacy. Y'all heard about that law? Like, we need to hear from that. And
yeah, I have to get the article and the title of it because I just heard the voting date and what it was about, and I was so upset I couldn't even get all the details. I just had a headache. I was like, "Oh my God, why do we even have this?" Even a thought of discussing it.
Yeah. And definitely keep Michigan, Michigan air show crash, the Maui fires, keep them in your prayers. Keep us in your prayers as we continue to try to, build this platform and get some truth and love out there.
Already.